just because you can do a thing for somebody because they ask, doesn't mean you should or you have to, even if you actually could do it. You don't have to. No. And it's sufficient, and I don't need to explain. Hello and welcome back to the channel, you guys, or welcome if this is your first time stopping by. My name is Hope, and I created this channel to talk about my experience with anxiety, postpartum, depression, fear, all the things that come with it, and then the glory that comes after it, because there is glory after it. Decided to talk about my story before I go into any things that I may have learned, any strategies, any tips, anything like that, even though I sort of put some in along the way, right? But in part one, we talked about when I realized I had postpartum anxiety, which of course comes along with depression. They go hand in hand. They're cousins, unfortunately. It's just some points in your life, one will be higher than the other. You just sort of, once you learn of them and you pay attention to yourself and what's going on and what's triggering it, you will know which level you're at the most in that particular environment or situation, right? So after I was finally diagnosed by a doctor that I had anxiety, my first thought now is, what is that? I've never, experienced it, never heard of it, never knew anyone personally who had gone through it, never had therapy for anything of any kind. So what is it? How do I get rid of it? That's my thought process. How do I get rid of it? I did research, I looked it up, and it was just a rabbit hole. It could come from so many things, and it's so many different types, whether it's some people have health anxiety, some people have fears of this, fears of that, different things that can trigger it and bring it on. But I was like a combination type thing, because once I had one, it just grew. It just was like, it'll start off with regular anxiety. My first one would be, if I can be honest, it would be fear, and that would be of control. I always had to have a sense of control in anything that concerned me. And at the time when anxiety first happened to me, I didn't know all these things were laying dormant inside of me. I always say, though, it's so weird, I feel like we are all adults dealing with childhood issues. I would say that, and I still say that all the time. So I knew it applied to me, but when you can't pinpoint the childhood circumstance or situation that's triggering you, or how to relate what's going on right now to a incident from the childhood, you can't put two and two together where it makes sense. And so that's what took me so long to get to a place of understanding it, understanding why it lasts so long in my life for me, because I had so much to unpack. Everybody is different. Me, I had a lot to unpack. Why? Because in all actuality, mine started when I was a little girl. So if it started when I was a little girl, trauma is what I mean. All trauma isn't the same. So I never had physical trauma, but I didn't know that certain circumstances or changes or things that happened in my life, I didn't know that it traumatized me, because I didn't have any pain. I didn't cry. I wasn't hurt per se, but there were things that happened continually. And it always, when things would happen, my solution was to come up with a plan to say, when I'm older and I'm able to make a decision, or I'm able to be in control or in charge or whatever, this is what it's going to be. So I mapped things out. Every experience, I had a plan for it in the future. That was my thought process. And I didn't realize that some of the things that happened when I was a kid, that they were traumatizing, but they really changed and shaped me into the person that I am. It's like, I feel like I'm here. I'm right here, right? This is the point where we're still growing, we're still evolving, we're learning ourselves. And you look back over and you're like, why am I still handling things based upon something in my past and I'm not in that situation anymore? That's how you have to look at it. But until you do the work and uproot all of the little things that have taken seed, that they were planted and then they were rooted, and just like a tree outside, the trunk is so thick and big, right? And we have a bad storm, branches breaking off, all the things, leaves falling off, everything, but the root is still here. Like what? And what happens? The branches grow back. It looked like nothing never happened. That's sort of like things that are planted in you. Things trigger them, and then little things that come up, but you may not be aware that where it's coming from, but it's already in there. No matter how old you get, if, like I said before, what you don't process will process you. It absolutely will. So anxiety for me was a curse to me, but in actuality, it really was a blessing. I don't know if I would have gotten my answers had it not been for that. I really don't know. It taught me how to set boundaries. We'll talk about more of that, in the future, because you have to set them. Just because you can do a thing for somebody because they ask, doesn't mean you should or you have to. Even if you actually could do it, you don't have to. No. And it's sufficient, and I don't need to explain. I had to learn that because I figured if I could help and I can do this and that person needs me, even if my cup is empty, I'll do it. I'll do it. And then when it's time to do the thing, I'm irritated, I'm agitated. Promise. So I have to do it because I don't want to come back on my word. And I don't want to hurt the other person's feeling. So now I will let you know. So that gives me time to process it. Do you have this to give? Do you really want to do this, or you don't? Then I can come back and give my honest answer and say whatever the case may be. And it's not like I lied. It's not like I, went back on what I said I would do. Anxiety is fear of the future, fear of the unknown. Like I said, fear of what I definitely can't control. That scares me because based upon things in my childhood, I didn't have control. You have to go along with what's laid out before you, and you have to accept it, and you have to deal with it and acknowledge it. And everybody handles things differently based upon your age, based upon where are you in, if you have siblings, where you are with siblings. Like, are you the oldest, are you the youngest, are you the middle? I'm a middle child. So I feel like my brother, who was the oldest, and he got a lot of my parents' attention. He was the oldest and he was in sports, but then most of the time, child, he was just bad. When I say trouble and punished every week, how you get punished, why you're punished. That was my brother. Okay, that was him. So he got a lot of their attention, had to go up to the school all the time, had to do all the things, all that. Okay, I'm the middle child, and I sort of was like, whatever my parents told me to do, that's it. I believed them. I was scared of my mom, not because she hurt me. It's just because she was stern. She was loving, but she meant what she said. She's not playing with you. She said, 2 people can't live in my house, a liar and a thief. So I learned early on, don't be neither one of them. To the best of your ability, don't be neither one of them, because that's just a bad characteristic, right? So that I just did what they told me and all the things. Then my sister, younger than me, of course, 3.5 years younger than me, she got a lot of attention because she's the baby. that's the last one. That's the baby. I think, you experiment with the previous kids. So once either they tired when the last one come, or they're just more lenient. I don't know. Comment below. Older parents who have more than one kids, and you had you love them all, but you do raise each one differently, because we are different individuals regardless of, being the same, parents and kids. I felt like my brother got a lot of the attention and my sister got a lot of attention. And me in the middle, I was sort of, if I would go out and say, sort of a go-getter early on. You didn't have to push me twice. You don't have to tell me twice. If I ever got a beating, I don't know, maybe once. If anything, I would get fussed at for saying what I wanted to say out my mouth, even though I wasn't old enough to say it. That was the trouble I had, my mouth. But being obedient, I'm going to do what you tell me to do. And so that trickled over into school. I always made honor roll. I had to make honor roll. If I got a C, and I still made honor roll with the C, but I cried. I remember crying when I got a C, and my brother was like, "What are you crying for?" And when I told him, he was like, if he could have beat me up, he probably would have. He was like, "You crying because you got a C? Girl, I'd be glad if I got a C. I got all D's. Like, you get out of here." But that's just how I was. And in school, having that attitude, of course, it trickled over in life. Everything I had to do it well and exceedingly and perfect and all these things. And that was then. Here I am, an adult, and I'm still like that. I want things to be perfect when that's not reality. Now, until recently, I'm over the perfect. I know it don't exist, and nor do I try to operate in it unless it's I'm unaware. But once I become aware, I'm nipping it, because I'm like, oh, that's you. I know you perfectionist spirit. Oh, no, you're not. We're not doing this. But that's where that came from, part of it. Being in the middle, being self-sufficient. They didn't have to do much for me or whatever. And if I had honor roll, assemblies and all of that, then either my mom or dad would come, depending on their schedule. But then after a while, because I made it every quarter all the time, then they may not have come, and just when I come home, congratulate me then. Or they had to go and see about my sister or my brother. So it's like, okay, you're there and you get it, and we'll celebrate you later. But I think in all of that made me feel like I got me. I'm going to celebrate me. I'm going to achieve above and beyond for me. But I didn't know that those were habits I was establishing. But that's what I was doing. And that's part of it. So then further on, childhood things, then my mom had to take in some of my cousins, because their mom wasn't in a good place at that time. So my mom took them in. So then that means that what? Then I had to share my room, or my sister had to share her room. You lose allowances. You can't go out to dinner like you used to, because there's one car, and now everybody can't fit in the car. It was just so many things that altered when my mom made that decision to do that. And we were told that this is what's going to happen and this is how it's going to be. Now, being a kid, you normally don't get a say-so in nothing. You don't pay no rent, right? So she's going to do what she thinks is best for whomever. And my mom being able to relate to not having somewhere to lay your head at some points when she was a young girl, then that's her trauma, which she's like, I'm not going to allow someone to go through what I went through if I can prevent it. See, it generation to generation when you don't know. So because she went through that, nobody was going to go through that on her watch. So that's why she did it when no one else would, do it or could do it, whichever one it was. And so when that happened, then that made me feel like, okay, another trauma. Well, when I have kids, he or she, if I have any, they're not sharing airspace. I don't care what's happening to nobody else. They're not sharing their space. I'm not sharing mine. Even to this day, my family and friends know I'm very protective of my space. If I don't invite you, I don't expect to see you. So if I'm inviting people and I invite you to come over, don't bring nobody with you if you didn't ask me, because now you both have to leave. That's control of my space. Don't impose on it at all, right? And I still have that. And I think most of my family and friends know to ask me, but that's where it comes from. And look how long it's been here. Even friends and relationships, when I was even 20s and 30s and all that, hanging out, you know how women can be so catty and going back and forth. I'm not arguing with nobody. And I don't care if you're not my friend. Like, I don't care. Because I feel like if you're for me, you're for me. Because for me, if I'm your friend, I'm your friend. I got you. Okay? And I'm not perfect, but I got you. I'm not going to go telling your business to make you look bad. I'm not going to do none of the things. You need my help? What do you need? What we need to do to make this better? I got you. So if I don't feel that from the other person, then I don't really consider you friend. Because if I'm doing this, you have to give this. I want what I give. I want it back. I want it in return. To me, that's friendship. That's relationship. A real relationship. Now you can have acquaintances, but don't try to get in a friend zone if you're not my friend. I know what a friend looks like because I'm showing myself to be friendly first. So I want it back. So it's easy. I won't say it's easy to walk away from people, because whether it's male or female, it hurts the same. If you love someone, even with me, when I had to cut 2 girlfriends off, and it really hurt. I mean, you go through the motions, you cry, you go through all the things, because I didn't want to do that. But seasons change, people change, and when I'm made to feel a way, then and I talk to you first. We're gonna have a conversation. I'm not gonna just step off like, I want to talk about it. And then I'm like, you hear me? If this keep happening, we're not gonna be friends. And you heard me? Okay. And then we'll come back, and then I'll talk to you again if need be. But we're not doing 3, 4, 11 times. We're not doing that. I'm out of here. And it's over. So I've always been like that. So, and still am. He not through with me, y'all. Don't judge me. We just talking. Childhood things that turn you into doing things, but you don't realize where they came from. I just realized this week, matter of fact, where the perfectionism spirit came from. This week. We had a stress training at work with all the things that's going on. So we had a training. And the lady that was speaking was talking about the different ways stress can show up in your life and why. And if you're this type of person, then this is where it could possibly come from. And I was like, oh, hold on. Hold the presses. So you mean to tell me that I've had this spirit for so long, and this is where it was derived from? And I was just saying, if you go back and watch one of my other shorts, I had on like a blue scarf, and it was titled Perfectionist. And I was like, I'm still trying to figure out where that came from. That was a week ago. So to have this training, and it's revealed, when I say God is still working, seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be opened. I would have never put that perfectionist spirit with those incidents at all. I knew those things changed how I was as a person. I didn't know that it came from that. I'm like, what perfectionists have to do with feeling like you have to show up for yourself, or feeling like you have to accomplish all these things to reward yourself for how you came through something or how you felt about something, even if it was about yourself. That's how I rewarded myself, by being an overachiever. Comment below if you can relate to that. Does that make any sense to you? So, hindsight, going through anxiety is so much unpacking, so much unveiling. So when I say at first I didn't understand why it came to destroy and break yokes. It came to sever chains. It came in my life to break bondages off of me that I did not know needed to be broken. But was it easy? Absolutely not. Is it easy? No. But is it doable? Is it worth it? You're worth it. So of course it's worth it. Running fast and getting nowhere. If you can take anything from what I'm saying, I know it's scary. I know it seems hard. I know it seems overwhelming. But you cannot outrun yourself. Where you go, there you will be. So I'm trying to save you years. Stop running. Embrace the symptoms. Embrace the anxiety. It is there to teach you something about you. It's not there to hurt you. It's to help you. But until you embrace it and say, when you start feeling overwhelmed and anxious and all that, you just pause and say, deep breath, deep breathing in, deep breathing, and you ask yourself, I don't care if you're looking in the mirror, what do you need? What do you need in this moment? What are you thinking? And if it's not attainable or realistic and it's too much, you have to eliminate some things and put them off for another day. Don't overwhelm yourself. And sometimes doing nothing is what you need to do. Nothing. I used to beat myself up for sitting in the chair all day doing nothing, resting. I said I was going to clean my closet. I said I was going to clean out my car. I said I was going to, okay. Well, today, the head and the body don't feel like doing that. And that's okay. Stop beating yourself up. Stop allowing the enemy to make you feel like every second of the hour we have to be busy. We weren't created to be busy. Being busy doesn't mean you're being productive. Have a seat. Relax. And journal. You have to write your journey along the way. I have journals from 2005 to present. I had to start writing it down. And when I go back over it and I look over those journals and I read them, I'm like, that was me? I wrote that. That was my thought process. That was me? Yeah, that was you. So when you don't think you've grown because it's not gone, or you feel like the situation isn't where you want it to be, you'll have something to show you. We may not be here, but baby, we not back here either. So it is so important to write your journey. I don't care if some people, and I notice I talk to now, and they was like, I don't know what to write. What do I write? If you sit with yourself, some days I will write, good morning, talking to myself. Today I woke up and I feel whatever the case may be. I think whatever the case may be. And then when I come back in the evening, then you write what you know, whatever the case may be, if you came back in the evening to write about the end of the day. And you just start somewhere. It's no right or wrong way, just like prayer. It's a conversation with God. Write in a journal, it's for you. So it doesn't matter how it looks to somebody else, it's yours. It's only for you. So write how you feel. Write what you're actually thinking. Because when you read it back out loud and you hear yourself, it's going to trigger something to say, that's not right, or that's whatever. So faith comes by hearing. Write it and then read it back out loud again to yourself. So you can hear what the thoughts, how you can process it. You have to figure out what that root is for you. It has to be plucked up. It can't stay there, because all it's doing is just being dormant, and it's a way the enemy can just keep bothering you over and over again with that same thing because you haven't realized where it came from. Trauma can be if you felt abandoned, if you felt like a parent wasn't there for you, or or somebody who you held close regards for wasn't there for you. Somebody didn't defend you, they didn't stand up for you, they allowed a situation to happen to you and didn't fight for you. It doesn't have to always be a physical part, you know what I mean? It can be that, of course, that's traumatic, but some things are trauma, but they're not bold. They're mentally traumatizing and not physically traumatizing to you. But they still things you have to work through and unpack, and you have to, the person we are now, have to go back to the little girl in us or the little boy in us and say, you did good. You have to say, you did good for what we were working with at that time. But now we're right here. I got it. I got us. You did good, but I got us now. We won't have to handle it that way because we're past that. You got us, you did good, right? And we move forward. So once you acknowledge and you heal the little girl or the little boy, then you can become a better version of who you are now. Comment below. I want to get you guys feedback. I pray that this video was not all over the place. I pray that you were able to follow me. I know I didn't go all the way into my story of once I actually found out and all the steps that I took, but I guess I was just led this way to just go and jump right on in with some of the symptoms and the ways you can try to figure out some things to get to the end result, which is healing. The main thing is to be healed so you can be who God purposed you to be and who you're going to be and who you already are. Regardless of how we get here, we get here. We're all going to go through some things to get here. But what they say about the diamonds, they were pressed and on fire, all these things to produce them. That's how we are in life. We're going to go through some things like I said, from anxiety. I hated it. Why me? God, have you forsaken me? You did this, you did that. Why aren't you answering me? I needed it. How else was all of that going to be brought to light for me? How? And to put things together to figure it out and then work on allowing him to change you into being who he wants you to be, and you let it go. Have I done all of that? Absolutely not. I'm still hope. Okay? I can say still hard-headed at times. Much better though, because I know I know the end result. So why keep doing that? Just be obedient. Listen to the small voice and just do it. Okay? Just do it. It'll get you there quicker than running, avoiding it, not being honest about it. And we all have issues of some kind where we may have felt some of the things that I mentioned, but you have to deal with them, because like I said, if you don't, they're going to continue to deal with you. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to disappear. They're not going to do none of that. What would you like me to talk about? What points would you like me to talk about in the next video? Give me your feedback, because we all had different experiences. Whether we suffer with the same thing, we've had different experiences in it. So if it's more on a different line of something, just let me know and we can discuss it together. But remember one thing. I am your sister in Christ. I am not your doctor. Okay? I still think you should get therapy, because it helps. It really does. And it doesn't mean, like I said, it doesn't mean you're crazy. It doesn't mean something's wrong with you, where forget all that. Time out for all of that. I think everybody, absolutely everybody, need one. And the therapist, I'm quite sure they got one or two for them. So don't suffer when you don't have to suffer. Time is so valuable and so precious. You have to do what needs to be done to enjoy the time that we all have. Everything we need is in our praise. Absolutely everything. Because that's what got me sitting here today. I continue to say, I will bless the Lord at all times. Your praise will continually be in my mouth. I make a boastful noise to you because you're good and you're worthy. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. I know that when the praises go up, the blessings come down. So you have to encourage yourself. Even if you don't believe it at that moment because you're going by how you feel, speak those things that are not as though they already are. Everything is in your praise, guys. Incorporate that in with your therapy. Talk to your doctor. Find you a good person who has some patient wisdom and insight to help you along your journey. And I promise you, you'll get there. Until next time, I think we'll talk about other things that was revealed through my journey of anxiety, depression, and fear. But that's not how the story ends. Okay? All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.